Our next presentation is entitled, The NCAA Dropped the Ball, Why the NIL System Fails Student Athletes. Please welcome Jianna Valestin.
Savannah Schoner was a gymnast from the University of Florida. She received her very first NIL deal, name, image, and likeness bill, after her second-place victory in the NCAA Championship of 2022. Through her modeling by the New York company, she would be compensated $3,000 for her modeling. Then the following week, the company's director reached out to her and gave her $3,000 to deposit the check. It seems like Schoner's hard work had finally paid off. Or had it? The NIL is believed to be fair to some by giving student athletes what they deserve. The NCAA believes that it's necessary for student athletes to promote competitive balance and preserve amateurism. Then recently, in 2021, the NCAA approved the NIL bill to give student athletes compensation for battling the life as student and athlete. Student athletes are paid through the NIL bill through compensation of athletic brands or appearing on commercials or even marketing apparel. Though this has raised the question to some if the NIL bill is truly putting into question what the NCAA believes, promoting competitive balance and preserving amateurism. The NIL bill is fair to believe that it gives student athletes what they deserve. Student athletes work tirelessly, balancing their lives, and it would only be fair to compensate them because colleges are estimated to make $940 million just off of sponsorships and games. So it would only be fair to compensate them because of all their hard work, right? Although the NCAA believes that we should pay student athletes, we should abolish the name, image, and likeness deal because it is inconsistent, devalues the meaning of amateurism, and does not promote competitive balance. To begin with, the NIL is inconsistent. Shedeur Sanders, the starting quarterback for Colorado University, has an NIL deal with the sports brand Under Armour, while the whole football team is sponsored by Nike. Sanders could potentially cross violations without realizing it, but the NIL has not made it clear to him what he can or cannot do with these sponsorships. So, if the NIL is confusing the student athlete and how it is regulating them, should we really pay student athletes? Well, while it is inconsistent, it also devalues the meaning of amateurism. Amateurism means no contact with professional athletes, no contracts with official businesses, no experience at all with paying student athletes. Amateurism should be desired because it keeps the accountability of the student athlete to their education. The system gives full access to student athletes with official businesses, like Sanders with Under Armour. And it makes the student athlete that you love and admire and watch on TV a working employee for a company rather than an actual student athlete. Through the inconsistencies and devaluement of amateurism, it also takes away from competitive balance. Competitive balance is needed to preserve and keep fairness of play in college sports. If a more well-known college makes more money through NIL's compensation than a lesser-known college, this creates competitive imbalance. It is The NIL is actively destroying competitive balance because through the NIL's compensation, it is taken away from the student athlete and shifts their focus more towards athletic brands rather than actually playing the sport. So paying student athletes through the NIL will cause harm to the economy because, as David Barry states, quote, the NCAA's argument against or promoting competitive balance is not what the evidence indicates. What the evidence indicates is that the rules have resulted in economic exploitation, end quote. So while we pay student athletes, it is destroying competitive balance. Through the inconsistencies and devaluation and not promoting competitive balance, still some may argue that it benefits the student athlete because colleges are the ones making profit off of their labor. The student athletes walk through college merchandise stores and see that their last names are put on the back of jerseys, and they do not receive 1 penny from this. Though this may seem true, the NCAA falls under antitrust laws. Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh said that the NCAA is contradicting themselves by paying student athletes. While we pay student athletes, it's taking away their meaning of playing a sport and is harming the integrity of sports through the competitive compensation of the NIL. Rather than making profit off of their name, all the money that the college and the student athlete generate will all be spent in court. If the NCAA is called to protect the student athlete, how are they protecting them by engaging with federal courts? Remember the gymnast from the University of Florida? Well, Schoner received her check of $3,000 and went to the bank to deposit it. Her long-awaited dreams were finally coming true. As she deposited the check bounced. It was all a scam. Many student athletes like Schoner are affected by the use of the NIL bill. In conclusion, we should abolish the name, image, and likeness bill to pay student athletes. We need to protect the student athletes by keeping them as a student athlete rather than as an employee. We need to defend them to keep the competitive balance and fairness of play in sports. And also, it is no longer the NCAA's job, nor our job, but it's up to us for the student athletes to have accountability before they one day go to the pros. Thank you.